Hello everybody, and yeah, I usually don't do intros for the what I watched this month as it's not particularly necessary, but I'm just gonna say that I've moved everything into a new setup. So everything I've got now, the mic is in a new. I've got it. Yeah, it's all set up in a new place, so the audio will probably sound different from the last few weeks' episodes. I hope that you enjoyed, and I am trying out this new thing, so I hope you enjoy. I hope this sounds better for you guys, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and today I will be talking about the films that I watched in the previous month of August. So let's just jump right into it this week. I started off the month by watching. I didn't actually watch a whole lot of films this last month. I've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment. But yeah, so I watched War for the Planet of the Apes. I concluded the Planet of the Apes trilogy. But I think I would have talked about Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in previous what films I watched this month episodes. But yeah, I really love this film. It's my favorite of the trilogy. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it to pieces. It's phenomenal. It's pretty much a perfect ending. Andy Serkis gives his best performance as Caesar in the trilogy. Woody Harrelson is wonderful. I'm a massive Woody Harrelson fan. He's great in everything. If you in Three Billboards and in Zombieland and in another film that I watched this month that I will get to momentarily. But yeah, I just really loved it. The effects looked phenomenal. The end, it was super emotional, and I really was invested in the character stuff with this one. Not to say I wasn't with the other ones, but this one really just drove home how well written these films are, and just the absolutely excellent and just phenomenal character writing this trilogy has. And I would argue it's one of the best trilogies, certainly of the 21st century, certainly in recent years, and possibly one of the best trilogies of all time. Honestly, I really loved it. Then I watched Bruno. I'm a big Sacha Baron Cohen fan. I love Borat. I think Borat is a really funny, entertaining film, and I think Bruno is weaker by comparison, but I did really like Bruno. I think I don't know. I think maybe I like the character. I don't know. I find something more about. Well, I don't know. The thing about Sacha Baron Cohen is I think Ali G is his weakest character. I mean, it's between Borat and Bruno in terms of who I find more which sorts of characters I find more interesting, and I think it depends on the situation, really. I mean, Borat is the most iconic one, arguably known worldwide, and I do think that Borat, Cultural Learners of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan. Yes, I just said the full title for some reason. Is one of the best comedies of the last, one of the best comedies of the century, one of the best comedies of the 2000s, one of the best comedies in recent years. And I think Bruno is not as good. I do think the hate for it is very unjust. I don't really get what people had a problem with beyond I guess, an overtly gay character and, the whole, and homophobia and all that kind of stuff. I guess that must be what it is, but I can't, it doesn't really seem that different, honestly, in terms of what it is, because it is effectively Borat, but with a different character, and the situations are different, but it is, Sacha Baron Cohen pretending to be a different person, and, going undercover, I guess, is the way to put it, and interacting with real people. But, I really had a really good time with it. I thought there was stuff that was at times funnier than some of the stuff in Borat, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, you guys should check it out too, because I think it's actually vastly underrated in terms of reactions to films. I rewatched The Incredible Hulk next, which I did an episode on, so go check the episode out on that film. And I watched The Nice Guys, directed by Shane Black, who I really like Shane Black. I think he's not a director. He's not really that much of it. Well, he is a director, but I don't see him as a director. I see him as a he's sort of like those. There's certain people who they direct films, but you don't really see them as, you wouldn't say they're great directors, you say they're great writers who, also direct stuff. I'd throw in like Aaron Sorkin is one of them. I think Martin McDonagh is a very great writer, capable director, but he's very much a writer. And Shane Black is another one of those kinds of people. And I really, really enjoyed The Nice Guys. I thought the two leads of Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling were wonderful. Ryan Gosling should have been Oscar nominated for that role instead of La La Land, because La La Land is shit. I do not like La La Land whatsoever. I think La La Land is actually a bad film in terms of, I don't enjoy La La Land. Like, it's technically well made and everything, but like, it's not great though. I don't really care about what happens in it. But The Nice Guys, I do really care about what happens in it. I found it to be, highly entertaining, really, really funny. Ryan Gosling is just fucking hysterical in it. He's so just like laugh out loud funny. And he's really great, and he bounces really well off Russell Crowe. I think the script is really nice and it's very much a Shane Black script, and I think Shane Black is a very, very capable writer, despite what some people may say, because some people are like, oh, he's done a few good films, but they wouldn't be, I know people are sort of a bit dismissive of Shane Black occasionally. People don't think Iron Man 3 is that great, or The Predator especially, but I think those two films are perfectly fine. But yeah, The Nice Guys is the best thing he's directed, and one of the best things that he has, one of the best things he's directed, and one of the best things he's written. A really great comedy in 2016, and I do truly recommend that you guys check it out. I followed it up by watching Chopper for the first time, which I did an episode on, so go check it out. But I liked it. It's good. Check out the episode on it, though. I followed that up with the 1986 David Cronenberg The Fly, which was, oh god, it's a lot. It's a really, really good film. I really, really love it, but it's just got body horror, and I'm not into that kind of thing. I'm not typically, it just feel like it's not unnecessary, but I'm because it's not unnecessary. It is part of the story, and it doesn't violently horrify me, but I would say that it is gross, and it's a film that while I did really enjoy it, I don't see myself watching it again, because, or at least not anytime soon, because it's just super gross. I'd seen, some of the effects, but I hadn't seen the really gross stuff. I'd seen sort of the iconic transformations from it, but I hadn't seen the whole, I don't want to say if you somehow don't know what it's about, but it's some really, really gross body horror, but a wonderful, wonderful lead performance from Jeff Goldblum, and a really nice supporting turn as well from Gina Davis. I think it's very well put together. The prosthetics and effects are amazing. They look so realistic, and they are so well done. And this is my first David Cronenberg film as well, so it's probably the one to start with. I feel like most people, when they get into David Cronenberg, they watch The Fly, because it's just that it's iconic. Everybody knows what The Fly is. They've heard about it, or they've seen the Simpsons parody, or something like that. But yeah, no, it's a really, really good film that I do highly, highly recommend you check out. Then I watched Thank You for Smoking, which is it's a good film. I mentioned in my review, follow me on Letterboxd, in my review that I did for it, that I put out, I mentioned how every now and again an actor will just have one of those years where they put out multiple great performances within the same year. Most recently for me personally, Andrew Garfield with last year with Tick Tick Boom, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Spider-Man No Way Home, Ryan Gosling with La La Land, which he is good in that, I will give him that, and The Nice Guys, which he is really great in, and in 2005, it was Aaron Eckhart, because not only was he in Conversations with Other Women, which is a fantastic film, but also Thank You for Smoking, which is fantastic. I really, really enjoyed Thank You for Smoking. Aaron Eckhart, fantastic leading performance. He feels like he's one of those actors who he was like a big deal for a few years, and then ever since then he's kind of been a bit forgotten, which is really, really disappointing because he is fantastic, and he's even relatively decent in The Dark Knight, despite being, you know, a weaker villain in that. But he's a really, really, really good actor, and I do think this film is the film's like 90 minutes long. It doesn't, you know, it breezes by. It's very entertaining. It's very funny, despite what it's talking about and what the sort of subject matter that it's dealing with being very like gross and uncomfortable and very dark, honestly. It you know, I mean, Thank You for Smoking, it's about smoking and the sort of the industry behind that, but it's a really, really entertaining, really, really funny, really, yeah, it's like surprisingly funny. It's great. It's a really, really, you know, good film. And yeah, I mean, Aaron Eckhart, 2005, phenomenal year for him, because it's two phenomenal performances in both Thank You for Smoking and Conversations with Other Women. Then I watched Barefoot Gen, and my god, did this film kill me, in a figurative way, of course. It didn't literally, you know, obviously that's a terrible joke. I'm keeping it in though. But I talked about the film Grave of the Fireflies. I think I did an episode on it last year sometime. But I think Barefoot Gen, it's another nuclear holocaust film, and I don't want to say too much about it because I think it's best watching it knowing as little as possible. But it's another nuclear holocaust film in Japan, and that's pretty much all I'll say. But it affected me more than Grave of the Fireflies because of the way it represents things and sort of and how we sort of look at that whole situation. But I think Grave of the Fireflies as a film is better overall because the first 20 minutes of Barefoot Gen are not, I don't particularly care for them. They are not great, and I don't like them that much, and that sort of drags it down and sort of is like why I prefer Grave of the Fireflies, because Grave of the Fireflies is a far more complete film in terms of just being perfect, more basically, you know. But Barefoot Gen is well worth checking out. I do check out Grave of the Fireflies first because it is the better film. But like I will say, if Grave of the Fireflies emotionally ruins you and affects you, and you just like you don't want to watch that film again, then don't watch Barefoot Gen because it is arguably worse. But both phenomenal films, and I do recommend checking out, especially if you're a fan of anime and you like the more fantasy, the more fun stuff. I do recommend you check these out because they are not that, but I think they're really phenomenal films, so I do recommend checking them out. Then I watched The Edge of 17, which I didn't think was particularly amazing. Like, it's fine. I think, like, coming of age films for me sort of fall into two categories. Either they are super relatable and they just hit me on an emotional level and I can, you know, relate to stuff in it, such as Superbad or Stand By Me or, you know, something like that. Whereas there are others that I appreciate, are good films and I enjoy, but I don't particularly get invested, like Lady Bird or in The Edge of 17. I didn't think Edge of 17 was certainly not a bad film, but not a film that was like, oh, I would you know, relate to this too heavily. I mean, like, it's got a good Haley Steinfeld performance, who I think is really good in it, and Woody Harrelson is like, basically steals the show in a very, very good supporting turn. He's not even in it that much, but he's Woody Harrelson. What can he do? You know, like, he can't help himself if he steals the show. I mean, he's Woody Harrelson. He's great, but it's just like it's a fairly, you know, there's far better coming of age films that I would recommend you watch, such as Superbad or Stand By Me. I mean, check those two out. I feel like you could relate to those for most people. You could definitely relate to them as boys. I'm aware Booksmart is a female version of Superbad, effectively. I have not seen it, but I can't imagine it's better than Superbad, personally. And plus, like, I think one of the actors in Booksmart was very insulted by the phrasing of referring to as Booksmart as a female Superbad, which, you know, fair enough, I guess. But yeah, no, Edge of 17, perfectly fine. It's well worth a watch just for the fairly standpoint of Woody Harrelson, but it's not amazing at all. And I watched the original 1968 Planet of the Apes. I loved it. It's the best Planet of the Apes film I've seen. It's the last good one from everything I've heard. I'm aware that they did 4 sequels to it, which I'm aware are all terrible, and then there's the Tim Burton remake, which I'm also aware is terrible. I have not seen them, but I will watch them eventually. But I've heard they are terrible, just shit, awful films. But I'll definitely watch them because I'm someone who just likes watching films, and I'm happy to watch even bad films. But yeah, no, I can't really say too much as I already said, because it's Planet of the Apes. Like, you can't. It's one of the most iconic films in history. Like, everybody knows the ending, more or less. If I'm not gonna say what it is, in case you don't know what it is, but just go watch the film after this, because you don't because knowing the ending. It's sort of how I was with Fight Club, where I know the big reveal, I know the big thing, in it, and it was sort of just like waiting for that to find out about it, for that to be revealed to the audience. And I think that Planet of the Apes is another one of those films, but it's an excellent, just wonderful film. My only problem is I don't think Charlton Heston is a particularly good actor in the film, and I do think he drags it down slightly. But besides that, it's pretty much a perfect film, but I just don't think Charlton Heston's great. But who knows? I could rewatch it in a few years and it could bump up, and be one of my all-time favorites. Who knows? But it is a wonderful film, and it hasn't really aged too badly. Like, it still feels like it could be made more or less today, minus a few changes, like this classic, like camera moves in that. Then I'm like, oh, that's obviously like a 60s shot, but it is well worth checking out, just because it's so iconic and so ingrained in pop culture. It's just excellent. Then I watched I Lost My Body, which I really, really liked. It's one of those films where it has a concept that is just brilliant. Like, you read the plot synopsis, or the outline of what the film's about, and you're just like, that is perfect. And there's certain films like that, something like Being John Malkovich, for example, is another one of those films, one of my all-time favorites, where if I told you the basic premise, you'd probably be like, okay, that sounds interesting as hell, I want to go see that. And I Lost My Body is that. It's just got such a wonderful way of doing things. It's just pretty much, it's got beautiful animation. It's French, but it's 80 minutes long, so it's really not that hard. And the plot is so good, and the tension that it's able to create from just something so mundane, it's wonderful. It's truly an excellent film, and I do highly recommend you check it out, especially if you're looking for something new, a new animated film to watch, and you're tired of your Disney and your Pixar and your DreamWorks and Studio Ghibli, which I like most of those films, and I like those companies, studios, more or less, for what they produce. But the companies I don't care for. The studios and the art they make is great. But I Lost My Body is well worth watch. 80 minutes on Netflix. It's French, got a brilliant premise. You should check it out. Then I saw Jordan Peele's new film, Nope, which I will be discussing in my review of the year at the end of this year, so I won't really get into it too much here, but sort of in general, I did like it. It's not perfect, and I will sort of get into talking about this at the end of the year for my review of the year episode, but it's good. You go see it. I rewatched American Beauty next, which I did on an episode that came out earlier this week, so go check it out. But yeah, I love it. One of my all-time favorite films. And I rounded the month off with Clerks, which I will be doing in an episode in a couple weeks' time. But to be very simple about it, I like it. I'm going to be positive about it when we get to the episode. I have not seen Clerks 2 yet, so who knows if I will be as positive. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of what films I watched this month. I hope you enjoyed listening to it, and yeah, I will see all of you guys in the next one. Goodbye.